Welcome back to Kickstart Podcast, Episode 4, where we do the deep dive, the heart of the Kickstart Invitational. I'm, of course, your host, Kyle Steffi, alongside Justin and Carter McPhail. In each episode, we'll be bringing you exclusive insights, player profiles, behind-the-scenes interviews, and expert analysis of the latest development of Kickstart Invitational. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Cal. Thanks for having us on again, I guess, even though you're the host and we're just the measly little co-hosts. It's been going good since we last got together.
In the situation of Stephen A. Smith and Joy Taylor, who's the talent in that situation?
Ooh, I don't. I mean, I know who the people turn to watch. I don't know if he's. I don't know if that makes them the talent, but I know what the people are tuning in for.
I love it. I'd like
Stephen
to think
A.
that
did say he was going to pick Charmander as his starter Pokemon.
I heard that as well.
He did. But before we get into it tonight, fellas, Carter's got a quick ad read from our friends over at Dunham's. Carter, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Kyle. Like always, this episode is brought to you by Dunham Sports, your ultimate outdoor and sporting destination. Whether you're into hunting, fishing, or loving every day, Dunham's has everything you need. Right now, use code Kickstart24 for an exclusive 20% off on all golf gear and accessories. Exclusions will apply. Don't miss out on the fun. Visit Dunham's in-store or online at dunhamsports.com. Dunham's, where the great outdoors meets unbeatable savings.
Dunham's coming in clutch with the love and everyday line right after we're talking about Joy Taylor. So today, Carter, Justin, and I decided that we, instead of going into a player profile or something else fun on this show, similar to Fortnite, some would argue that the map and the courses that you play on just as much as the main character as the players playing on it. Obviously, the difference between a great golf course and a shitty golf course is wide, but between a few good golf courses, the differences are minimal and yet clear as day from the blind eye. I mean, Carter, what in your opinion, Carter, what does a great course look like to you? What makes a course great?
For me, a good course is a course it's challenging but not too difficult for the average golfer, I think. For someone like me who can kind of get themselves into trouble, I don't want it to be, a 4-hour just all out fist fight against the course, but at the same time, it's something it's going to challenge me a little bit. And I like when courses kind of have like a little bit of a theme or something about them. Like we're going to talk about Diamond Springs coming up, and I mean it's got no rough, right? It's all cut at one length. I think that's pretty cool. Of course,
it's got really unique features, yeah.
Of course, I'm really hoping to get up and play this summer is Gray Walls way up north in northern Michigan. They got those big, just granite cliffs in the middle,
exposed rock.
Yeah, 5 feet off the green is just a 80-foot cliff. I think that's cool. Just something kind of like that. The course just kind of has to be interesting to me, I guess.
Totally. Justin, I mean, same question for you. Obviously, your affinity for unique courses is well on record. What does it for you?
Yeah, I mean, Carter kind of touched on it. I think being challenging without being hard. Hard is kind of just like really overly difficult shots and that sort of stuff. And I think challenging is like, here's the objective in front of you. And if you do, step 1, 2, and 3 in the right order, you're going to have success. And if you don't, then it's going to be difficult from there on in. Like Carter said, something, I always like to play somewhere that's got some unique characteristics, right? Like Diamond Springs with this sort of 2 heights, greens and tees, and then everything else, right up until until the rough. The native grass fescue type of stuff. Pilgrim's Run, it stands out as a place. I would say visually a lot more challenging probably than the other two that we play, but still playable, right, for everybody. I like to go to a place with interesting shots around the greens. Um, there's a ton of places that you grow up playing in high school golf or whatever, that it's just kind of a circular green that slopes from back to front. And if you aim right for the center of that dartboard, you're going to have success. And if not, then you know you have the kind of the same shot over and over and over. And that's just not as interesting to me. So these places that we've picked out are sort of, I think this will bring us into the next part of this discussion is, we're trying to pick out some places that have some interesting features and are playable for everybody on the trip, and can be interesting for every level of golfer, because we got quite a spread, right? So
Yeah, and I think that is a perfect segue to just start diving into the mines. The first course of the trip, for a lot of us, it's the warm up round. For some of us, it's a home of net eagles, and for some of us, it's figuring out if we're going to shoot 30 yards at 300. It's a place of wide range, wide variety, and to me, a lot of fun. But why don't you guys dive into the mines a little bit?
yeah, the mines. First, we picked these places, all three courses, the Mines, Diamond Springs, and Pilgrim's Run. We picked them because it's a good blend of affordability and, like, I mean, I don't want to say quality, but like usually they don't always go hand in hand. They kind of, find that, fill this middle ground of, like, as much as we were sort of willing to pay for a trip like this, and still like the highest quality, of course, that we could get on, right? Um, and so that they're all happen to be, not happen to, I think intentionally, they're all chosen and designed by the same person. Mike DeVries was the designer for all three places, at different stages in his career. So they weren't all built kind of around the same time or anything like that. But he's the type of course architect that thoughtfully builds in those things that we sort of just highlighted as keys for us, right? Where it's challenging but not hard, and where there's interesting, unique aspects about every course, right? So the mines specifically, I think you guys would all agree, super, super interesting, but also challenging around the greens, especially the past couple years that we've played it. The green's super firm, super fast. We talked about it in the group chat a little bit, that everybody seemed to hit some good shots, and had some sort of shortish shots into that first hole, and without having seen everybody hit into there, everybody kind of hits a wedge shot in there that lands on the green, and then all of a sudden you hear this big knock, and your ball goes shooting up over the back to an impossible up and down, right? And it was an experience 8 of the 12 guys probably had last year, where and then all of a sudden you find out really quick that, okay, this is different than what we've had to play in the spring leading up to this, right? That's, for me, that's what makes the mines really interesting, exciting, challenging, and I think really fun. um, Carter, if you want to take over and talk a little bit about it, I think I really like the mines for that specific. That's like its unique thing, is that really difficult, interesting green sites like that.
Yeah, I mean, for me as a more, I would kind of consider myself more of like a recreational enjoyer of the game than Justin. Kind of appreciates more of those like subtle intricacies that I necessarily wouldn't think of.
Or just
But I mean,
maybe don't see it at first.
yeah, I mean, like I'm not gonna, obviously I'm gonna notice that the greens are firm and things like that, but I'm more of taking it kind of at like face value. I mean, I really like the mines. I think about that first time that I played it with with Justin and Chase, um, when I was still at Fair State, um, and thought it was really cool how, like 5 and 9 kind of share that like big stretch of fairway,
Yeah,
where you're on
for
5
sure.
tee box. And I got on 5 tee box last year during the first round, and I just let it eat. And when that happened, it went, kind of went a little bit left on me, nothing crazy, and was, I would say, if you drew a line between the 9 and 5 fairway, I still would have been on the 5 side. But there was a group of older gentlemen coming up 9, and they had hit their ball over near mine, and got to interact with them a little bit. Was kind of like, hey, like, no, don't worry, I'll get out of your way. And I kind of looked at them and was like, well, maybe I shouldn't hit my ball over here where you guys are.
It's the fairway though, right? When you first
Yeah.
step up there, you're like, wow, I got 180 yards of fairway to hit into.
Great for a left-handed slice, by the way.
Yeah, the
Big
Fetty
time.
slice, the Fetty slice was out to play, or the the Fetty fade, or whatever you want to call it. When we played there. But the other thing too is like those kind of like those fescue areas, that sandy kind of like, yeah, you missed the fairway by a good amount, but like you can kind of get over there and find it and try to hit a shot out of that, kind of like sand dune style.
Yeah. Sometimes very playable out of there, right? You can
Yeah.
get a little lucky.
Yeah, I mean, and you can get buried out there as well.
For sure.
That was kind of like, I feel like for a lot of us coming to play at the Kickstart, it's, oh, excuse me, it's gonna be something where like, these kind of like city courses, like a lot of like straight fairway into a green, like just like kind of like grass all around. And then you get out there and that's more of like kind of like, I feel it's like that up north kind of like almost like a little bit links style, like kind of less water, more natural kind of
Yeah.
grass and things like that, which I really like. And yeah, I mean that course it'll eat you up if you gotta adapt after the first couple holes and play the course kind of how it wants, instead of some of these courses, like the courses that we play here in Ohio, like around campus. It's, I mean, you can do whatever you want. I mean, at the mines, like that's not necessarily the case, and that's one of the things I really like about it.
Yeah, so just real quick, we've been talking about like subjective stuff, right? That the stuff that we really like about it. Um, Objectively, it's a par 70 golf course. From the tees we played last year, 61.35 is the total distance. I mean, it's a little shorter on the scorecard. Due to that kind of par 70. And then I think personally that it plays a little longer than that. I don't know why. Um, there's sort of some shorter par threes. Those couple par threes back to back, 7 and 8, are a little shorter. Um, as far as scoring goes, like from the trip, the average for the life of the Kickstart, 76.3 stroke average. Um, a little bit higher than the other couple courses. That's 6.3 strokes over par. Net is a little higher than the other two that we'll get to a little later. So I mean, we already talked about it, plays a bit more difficult. And then the other thing, only two par fives out there. So Carter talked about number 5, and then the only other one is 17. Really long, plays really long. Says 506. I don't know if there's, you guys will have to chime in the comments, but I don't know if there's any other holes that we really couldn't reach into out there other than those 2 par 5s, right? They actually play quite long. So, objectively plays a bit more difficult than the other ones for sure. I think due to the time of year that we play it, I think they were having a tournament the weekend before both times that we played it. And that sort of showed, like we talked about, in the green conditions being, by far the firmest and fastest. But yeah, the scoring average is a little bit higher. It seems like, most guys seem to play around the average. It sort of brings everybody together. There's not as big of a gap between like the best round of that day and the worst round of that day as far as strokes go, for sure. So, it's been, it's my favorite course on the trip. I think it's really cool. And but it definitely does play difficult, and there's some really, really tough shots out there for sure. So
Yeah, I mean, I personally love the Mines. I enjoyed it more than I like Diamond Springs, and I think it's just because I played a little bit better at the Mines, frankly.
sure.
I know one of my favorite moments of the trip was the turn of 2 and 3, where the 3 tee box is just overlooking the 2 green, and seeing the fellas
Oh, yeah.
down, how they started, hearing Carter talk his shit. Those are the little moments that
Yeah,
I like about that course and about the trip in general.
absolutely.
With a little net eagle on that par 5 on hole 5 is
Well,
Yeah, imagine that you hit your drive out there. You gotta talk to old Bernie Mac and the fellas coming up the last hole, and then you hit a pure little 4-wood up there to about 60 feet, chip it on, knock it in, and you pull your phone out to text in the conductor's chat that you made net eagle. And right as you open up your phone, it's Kyle Steffi, the first net eagle of the tournament, belongs to the conductors. And also I'll throw this in. This is where we played the practice round, the Sunday round there.
sounds like that's going to continue, right?
Yeah, so we're
There's
planning
some
on
plan for that.
I'm planning on doing one again. And doing it at the Mines again, which I really liked playing it, especially because it was difficult. I thought for Kyle and Connor, having not played the true like 4-ball format, it was
Sure.
good to get those two out there on the Mines
Gets you warmed
and
up, yeah.
kind of like take them through what it was going to be like, so that when it started for real, it wasn't they weren't too confused at what was going on. And I thought we had a great match that day, me and Kyle.
we did.
It was me and you versus Fetty and Mac, was it not?
It was.
Yeah, we took him down, if I remember correctly.
Just
But
getting
yeah, it
that
was a
in
great
there.
match. But I will say, yeah, going forward, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do the practice round. I'm gonna get together with those guys that want to do it and set it up
Sure.
again for Sunday before the draft, whoever's going to be down there in time. So, yeah.
100%. Yeah, I loved the practice round, and especially coming in for my first year, it was almost necessary to get those gears moving a little bit and get a little bit of those jitters out. Are we good on the Mines? Are you ready to move on to?
Let me ask you, Kyle. I know you said that you like the places and the Mines does this well, where the groups overlap. You get a chance to see what's going on and talk a little bit of your shit and do that. What about the Mines do you dislike?
I'm a real small brain when it comes to my golf course preferences.
Okay.
I like a pretty course. I like
Okay.
some water. I
Yeah.
like some green trees, some green grass. Like
This one's this one you got to be down for the brown for this one, right? It's rough around the edges, sandy, dusty. Your shoes get a bit of dust on them. Your socks are a different color when you get back to the car.
I mean, the
got a
Mines
great
is like the fourth
personality.
day on spring break.
Yeah.
A little fuzzy, a little
Yeah.
greasy, but I mean, damn, is it good?
Yeah,
she's got a great personality.
she
It's
does.
never a bad time
Yeah.
there.
I
But
think most people would have more of an appreciation for her if they get to know her, but
certainly, and I did. I
not
loved her
everybody's
there.
cup of tea. Yeah.
Certainly. But yeah, I would say that's the one thing that if I were to say I dislike anything about the course, it's not. She ain't as pretty as Pilgrim's Run. I can say that for sure.
Yeah,
And not that
sure.
many courses are in my experience, but
Doesn't have that shock value. Let's roll. Let's talk about course number 2 on the trip. Why don't you keep it going here, Kyle? Tell me something that you love about Diamond Springs.
Diamond Springs, and again, my experience is much more limited than most, but one of the most unique courses I've ever played. I know Carter previously touched on
Absolutely.
it. The one cut of grass, especially on that first tee box that we played. Like if you're on the tee box and you're also just on the fairway,
it grabs your eye right away as soon as you pull away from the practice green, right?
Immediately.
To me, it almost seems like someone was making it in a video game, or it's like they drew it out on like Microsoft Paint, and it was just light green at the green in the tee and dark green, and then brown in between the holes.
Yeah.
And
Just right click.
DeVries gave it to the guys with the bulldozers, and they were like, "Okay."
Like
We'll do
nobody
that.
told the mowers like where the lines were supposed to go. So they just took them all the way out to the edge. Like,
but it works. It doesn't look like a mistake either.
For sure.
It is wildly unique, and visually it catches your attention immediately. And obviously a ton of the quotes from the 2023 trip came from Diamond Springs. It's the day of the doubleheader. It's the day of, packing your own sandwiches, your own hot dogs versus fighting the golf pro on using their ketchup and mustard.
Yeah.
You get the experience of the last walk up, my favorite moment of the trip. I don't think that's a shock value to anybody. A ton of memories at Diamond Springs. Fellas, Carter, run me through Diamond Springs in your eyes.
I wish the singles match was the second round at Diamond Springs.
Yeah.
I might have to start getting up early and just playing a round before every round, because something about that afternoon round at Diamond Springs.
If I can quantify that real quick, Carter's round 3 scoring average is 68.5, which is a full 10 strokes better than the field scoring average in round 3. He is 10 strokes better, including his score. I'm sure if we took his out, the field scoring average would be closer to 81. Carter's round 3 scoring average 10 strokes better than the field average. So
I'm trying to think. I think it's maybe it's hole 3. It might just be I have no idea. It's going back away from the clubhouse, and the next tee box is like elevated kind of through those that shrubbery.
Yeah, 3, you hit kind of over the crest of this hill. You don't get to see your ball land, and then your next shot's back up the hill to the green.
Yeah, so both days I hit
very wide fairway, by the way, about 90 yards wide, and I think my group in the morning, every single one of us missed the fairway to the left.
I just remember both rounds last year playing behind you, Jay, and hitting my drive out in the fairway and hitting a wedge into that green, and it hitting and sounding like a frozen lake. It was like
Yeah.
doing. And both days I hit my wedge into the green, both rounds, and kind of spun it back a few feet towards the hole, and just watching all four guys on the tee box go
Yeah. Yeah.
and whip around. Aside from maybe Kyle on the last hole of that day, I made a huge, maybe even the biggest putt of the day, playing against Esser and Cody, where I was putting down the hill about 6 or 7 feet and hit it about 8 feet by, and made it coming back up for par to tie the hole.
Yeah, and for as long as we would all agree that like the green conditions at Diamond Springs are probably third ranked out of the three, right? They're firm, but the grass is a little longer and they play a little bit slower, and the amount of slope on the greens perfectly matches how fast they can get them going. And so like those putts from above the hole, even though the greens are a little bit slower, they're still really fast because of how much actual slope is there. I think it's a great matchup for the course conditions for sure.
That too, and just that stretch, those finishing holes, 17, 8 or 16, 17, 18, like
Yeah.
those are big boy golf holes.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And 15, the drivable, almost drivable, depending where we play the tees from, par four right before that. Those are, you got to hit some big time shots coming in if you want to close
yeah,
out a
I mean,
match.
if you're in a close match and you bite off a little more than you can chew, like Diamond Springs is a little fuzzy, but it'll bite you.
And the momentum can switch fast.
Yeah.
Some more objective stuff. Par 72. So obviously a little bit different there, and then the total scoring average there, 77.7. So about a stroke less over par when compared to the Mines. Plays just a touch easier. It's we played it last year from the blue. Do we play the blue white combos or just the blues and then mix in
Played
a
blue
couple
white,
whites?
but we played 15 up a tee.
Okay, yeah. So we played the blue white combos at 64. I feel like it plays a little shorter than the Mines because of that firm, it's still firm and there's not quite as much slope in the fairways. So when you ball lands, it really kind of runs out, right? And then I think also it's quite interesting around the greens again. More slope probably on the greens, but not quite as firm, not quite as fast as the Mines. So plays a little less challenging. It's definitely more, every shot kind of feels doable around there, right? You never feel like, oh, there's no way I can get this on the green like you do. Like if you miss short left on number 3 at the Mines, like how are you going to stop that? You're not. Like you might as well put it up there and hope it hits the pin. At Diamond Springs, wherever you hit it around the green, you're not going to be in thick rough, so you don't have to flop anything up anywhere. You can try if you want to, but you could putt from 40 yards away on some of those holes. Like I think about number 12 on the or I think about one of the par fives. I think number 8, right before we made the turn to come back across the ravine. Um, it's a 500-yard par 5, right? If you hit it just short right, you could putt from 30 yards and use the slope of the green to get to any pin that you want to. And it would be kind of like almost like the shot to do from there.
Yeah, I mean, you think about when we played our, 6v6
Mm-hmm.
scramble coming down and back up 1 and 2. Like
Yeah.
even 2, like that when that pin's in the left, you can sling it around that bowl,
Mm-hmm.
right? And kind of use that slope, and that's something that you don't get a lot at these like kind of like
Courses in this price range.
right,
Yeah.
especially in this one's price range, because obviously their style,
Yeah.
and I mean
So
it's not
$88 for 36 holes here.
yeah.
I
And
still can't believe
85
that shit.
for example, 85 at Pilgrims per
Yeah,
person
that's
for
crazy.
18. Yeah.
I mean, if I had I mean, I would vouch for just doing 5 straight at Diamond Springs. Get up, play Diamond Springs, go to
Sure.
Founders, get up, double down, and then double down again. 2 singles
Yeah.
matches.
Yeah. Carter, can you give me one thing that you don't enjoy about Diamond Springs? Give me one
Um,
negative. Try to balance the scales a little bit, because I think in at least on this call, a lot of people really enjoy Diamond Springs, almost their favorite on the trip. But give me one thing you didn't like. Try not to make it about the other golfers that we experienced on the course.
um, I mean, I like it. I feel like some of the par threes are pretty long,
Yeah, there's some. The par threes are a little tough.
which makes it hard, especially in match play where you can kind of like, which is good and bad, I think,
Yeah,
where you can kind of get away with, you know, win a hole because you had one good shot.
yeah,
Whereas kind of like it's a little bit tough, especially with our group. Um,
yeah. There
you
was
know,
there
we
was there's some guys winning holes with pars because everybody else is sort of in their pocket almost, right? Or with a four
right,
because the other two guys hit a couple tough shots. 182, number 5, a long hole, fairly tight. Um, your opposing captain Chase Bierbauer says that this is you know not his favorite hole on the course, but maybe his favorite hole in the world. So some some high praise, a crazy green, right? And he's played it more than anybody, but that shelf in the back that maybe some guys wouldn't even know is back there. He's seen it with the pin all the way back there. The green is 70 yards long, so that hole can play 230 from where that pin can be in the back, and that's a real long one. Seven's a little shorter, 140. 14 164, and then 17 from the white tees, 180 over the big feature of the course, that huge ravine.
right.
um got that stuff going for it. So
Um, and then also too, doing the double dip day there. And I know they were renovating the clubhouse the first year and had no food. So then the second year we doubled down and brought our
yeah,
own. Um, just that little bit of a from a hospitality standpoint.
a hiccup, a miscommunication, but then probably not handled very well by all parties.
Right. I mean, I think about, it's hard not to compare it to, the hospitality we had at Pilgrims.
Yeah,
Um,
Mike Ray there, just absolutely phenomenal guy. Even when we were going through some slowish play, right? Sending a guy out there that was moving us along, but not in the same way that the way we
I mean,
experienced
Ranger Rick might have saved the conductors to start hype by lighting a fire under Dan's ass.
Ranger Rick did finish second in the Carlisle Fraser Unsung Hero Award voting.
I mean, Ranger Rick was just standing in the corner, just giving Dan the ball, 3 bomb, 3 bomb, 3 bomb, and this match is
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
And meanwhile, me and Cullen are taking turns just sucker punching each other on one hole and then having a pillow fight on the next.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Um,
one last thing. The first official tee times for the Kickstart Invitational are here, and they are at Diamond Springs on Tuesday. So the Tuesday of that
Really?
week, we're gonna have we're gonna have the 8:30, 8:40, 8:50 in the morning, and then the 2:40, 2:50, and 3 o'clock times in the afternoon. So, um, not planning to do illegal food and beverage operation out of the parking lot this year, but
just
trying to
beverage.
get us trying to get us an extra half hour of time to actually go inside and
I would think that it might be,
patronize a place that's taking care of us.
yeah, and it might be beneficial for us to communicate that with them when we get closer and kind of be like, hey, like we're coming next week and we're gonna have, a bunch of guys and maybe we can get a little bit of um a jump start on the hot dogs and things like that when we're getting close so that when we get
Yeah,
in there we can kind of kick our feet up and at the same time not kind of blindside the kitchen.
yeah, and so the other thing about last year, so 2 years ago, we actually had plenty of time between rounds. We played a little slower, around like 4 hours and 20 something minutes. Um, that was in 2022. In 2023, around like 4:38 or whatever, so a little slower. But because of the mix up of what our tee times were supposed to be and like all that stuff, we actually would have had like an hour between to sit down and have everybody change, have the captains switch their teams around and stuff like we were planning on, and get
Right.
something to eat. So this year, another half hour onto that, so it should be like an hour and 20 minutes. If you're in first group to to first group, or I should say, if you're in the last group to finish in the morning and the first group to tee off, should have at least an hour still to sit down, get something to eat, and hopefully
Hypervolt Tootsies.
and repair the teams, because like that's an important part of that day is getting the teams um, reorganized, and last year getting tossed back out onto the course because they had a high school event that they forgot to slot us in for was unfortunate, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot about Jimmy's biology test that he failed that morning, so he wasn't too happy to share the tea with me. They're
Exactly
coming down
right.
the stretch.
Exactly right.
I do want to say one thing about Diamond Springs too before we move on. You listing off the tee times, how early of a morning that was.
Mhm.
That was the first day to me where I'm like, all right, this is a trip with the boys, but I gotta like dial it in. I had never played 36 holes of golf in one day in my life. I
Yeah.
mean, you guys know me. I don't fucking get up early for anything other than work.
Kyle's got
Uh,
no windows in his bedroom.
None. And then a little bit hungover from the night before. The boys getting
That's
after
the
it.
thing too, is that first night at Founders, and then like it's kind of like Sunday night, it's like kind of more casual, but like we go to Founders and get the ball rolling and get back to the
Yeah,
Airbnb,
get it
and all of
rolling,
a
and
sudden, like the
And
guys kind of want to push the pedal, and then all of a sudden
yeah,
that 8 o'clock wake up comes around, and that drive through at Tim
oh,
Hortons is
seven
route.
7:40 7:40 departure time next year. So,
And
and
you're gonna do the departure time pamphlet again, right?
I think we
The
have to. It was just excellent to
hmm
have everybody on the same page, right?
for those
yeah.
So,
for those guys that were there and that may or may not be listening to this live on the YouTubes, um, the just the like theatrical improvements from year one to year two were unbelievable. In terms of the draft board that you did, Jay, and the daily leaderboards
yeah,
and
dialing in our visual aids.
like even down to the logos and stuff too. Like those are the little things that like I don't want the guys to kind of like almost take for granted, because we know like you take a lot of time to do those, and that's one of the things that kind of like sets the trip apart from, just sending one of your buddies a bunch of money, getting an Airbnb and playing golf all weekend.
It does make it a much more official feeling, for sure. That's sort of the impetus behind that, to make it feel like a tournament, right? It's a Kickstart Invitational tournament, just as much as it is a buddies trip. Back to your point, Kyle. We'll see who's real serious about the competition when those alarms start going off on Tuesday morning, and or we'll actually find out Monday night who comes back to their house and crushes, puts down a whole bag of Dan's Twisted Tea, right? and who's ready to
Right?
mix in a
Yeah.
few waters and get to bed.
And
Right,
I
Go ahead, Cal.
might dabble in some baggage, and I might rattle a bog once or twice. But the next morning is a day.
Nobody's tying you down.
No, and and I think that's the biggest separator to me about Diamond Springs, more specifically on the trip than maybe the course itself, is that you separate the boys from men. You're gonna have ebbs and flows throughout the day. Like for me, 36 holes, I had a hot bit, and then I went cold, and then I went hot, and then cold, and then I got hot right at the last hole. So like there's ebbs and flows of the day. And to me, that's the day that it could arguably be most important from the captains, is who's gonna be hot, who's gonna need a pickup, and making those partners great. I think Dan was literally the perfect partner for me that day, because he kept me alive, just long enough for us to survive to that last hole. So, Diamond Springs is a special one, but god damn it, is it hard.
For sure. Well, go ahead.
One of the sneaky advantages of Diamond Springs also is the Yamaha golf cart attached cooler.
Oh, for sure.
On the side there. I had a BioSteel sugar-free sports drink strapped in there, and popping that thing in the middle of the round. It's like hitting the chug jug late game.
Or a little birdie juice. Who's to say what you need?
Yeah, birdie juice. Our boy Michael Bomarito had himself a 12-ounce sugar-free Red Bull stashed in there for between rounds in year one. And to your point just a second ago, Kyle, about the captains being important, we'll see if they make adjustments between round one and round two, now that there is at least planned, there's time between planned for them to do so. And so hopefully we see some good plays, and we'll get a couple golf claps for our guy who makes an adjustment between the two rounds and changes the flow of the day by switching some things up.
100%.
Right before we move on to Pilgrim's Run, I would I would say, just because we're bringing up the captaincy and the the graphics and things, but coming from the board of trustees, we have heard that there has been slight progress in Chase selecting a name.
Oh, very interesting.
The board has contacted them and told them, we kind of need to get the ball rolling here. It's past the first of the year now, getting close to some announcements and things coming up. So for those of you that have made it this far and are still listening, just be on the lookout that there could be a name announcement here in the coming weeks or so, from Captain Bierbauer.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Great news. It's great news. It's a potential rider of that ship. I'm excited.
You ain't riding that ship, Kyle.
I'm going back to back regardless, so it don't matter. Pilgrim's Run. Pilgrim's Run. Singles course. The final day. In my opinion, the prettiest course. It's where we do the awards. It's where we take the pictures with the fellas. I mean, as we touched on a little bit, unbelievable hospitality out of them.
Absolutely.
Jay, run me through Pilgrim's Run a little bit here.
My I don't know, colleague, Mike Ray, the head pro there, is obviously running an unbelievable a course down there. The profile, it's a longer course. It's they would be called like I don't know, upscale public, one of the finest public golf courses I think in Michigan, in all of the states. So one of my favorites. When you talk about public, there's some resorts that I probably wouldn't throw into this category, but as far as just daily round publics, one of the best in the state for sure. A little bit longer, a little bit tighter. How Carter was talking about kind of that up north feel. This one is the most up north feeling, right? You get into once you get through that first hole, that big par 5, you get back there in the trees, and every subsequent hole after that is separate from everything else going on almost entirely, right? You get to the tee, all you see is the hole that you're on. You can't see the next tee. You can't see the other golfers on the course. Gives it a really, really good feeling. It's a par 73. It's a bit longer. A couple extra par 5s mixed in there in the back. And, the course average, our scoring average 77.5. So playing as, I don't want to say playing as the easiest, but I think guys are taking advantage of the sort of softer maybe playing conditions, and really good conditions, really consistent conditions, and guys are out there playing pretty well. So
What do you think? What do you think of Pilgrim's Run? You walked away with 2 trophies from there. Surely you have some fond memories of Pilgrim's Run.
I mean, I've played it twice. I know Transit's played it a bunch. But I mean, I had 2 great matches with Cullen there. The first year in the rain was just, I mean, it's iconic. I mean, we bought the clubhouse out of rain gloves 15 minutes before tee off.
Yeah.
And the way I think about Pilgrim's Run, when I think about the Kickstart, is it's Bowser's Castle, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it'll
talk me through it.
It's really not all that like dangerous. There's a
Sure.
lot, there's a lot kind of going on. And similar to the other courses like the mines and stuff, like you kind of hit it awry, like it'll bite you.
I'm with you now. Yeah. If you see your lines, it kind of tells you where to go. It directs you. You're not going to really, if you're getting to the right spot, you're going to be safe. But when you get
hit it in the
offline,
lava,
yeah,
you pick it up, bud.
Restart.
I mean, then you got what's his name on the cloud scooping you up by your hiney, kicking you back in the middle of the fairway, and you're hitting 3.
Yep.
And it's gonna be tough. They got great. I think it might be the only course where I feel like the fairway bunkers are dangerous.
Yeah.
In terms of like I could hit it in there.
Right.
I mean, I think I forget the hole, but there's like 3 of them right out there at like 300.
Sure.
It's a downhill kind of tee shot, and then the flag goes back up. And in my match against Cullen in year 2, like he hit his drive out there and was kind of just left of him, And the way I was hitting my driver that day, I kind of just was like, I'm going to hit this hard. And if it leaks to get out there, like it'll be fine. And I was about a yard from carrying those bunkers. And had to basically stand on the stairs with one leg by my ear and one in the bunker to try to hit a wedge out, hit it about 4 yards, and then caught a flyer with the 4-iron over the green from there and lost the hole.
Yeah, you're talking about number 6, right? A big downhill hole, kind of sort of plays as a par 5, and yeah, that cluster of bunkers is actually in the middle of the fairway, trying to make you choose which side to go to,
Right.
or try to really hit that hero shot right over top of them.
So I mean, I like Pilgrim's Run. I think it's real dark green, like luscious nature.
Yeah,
There
like
where
the stuff that you start to get excited about when the Masters commercials come around, that
yeah,
that
Exactly my thought, Jay.
rich uniform green, and the tall pines lining the sides of the fairways, right? Um, that's the type of, it's not Augusta. We're not kidding anybody, right? But the conditions compared to the other two courses really stand out as being
even
top notch.
down to the like the cart attendant kid
Mhm.
unloading our bags when we get there. I mean, that's pretty national, right? Like
Yeah, that is top stuff.
you get there, it's singles day, like you probably ripped it up a little bit the night before and you got to lock it in. Next thing you know, there's, you know, this young cat's unloading my bag for me. And
Hmm.
it's like, all right, like we got to lock it in here because it's singles day. It's the biggest round of the tournament. And I
It
think,
definitely, from the moment you pull into the parking lot, right, and you drive past the range, whether there's people hitting balls or, the way it is presented is very top class, makes you feel like this competition is quite nearly professional, right?
yeah,
From even, the starter on the first tee, they have their process dialed, from talking to you about pace of play without making you feel like they're yelling at you, you know in the golf shop. I know Mike pretty well, but he talks to everybody like they're the most important person there that day, and I think um, that carries down to the staff. Every person that you interact with there is super professional.
yeah. I mean, it just makes that last day like not, I mean, it already means something, but when you're at
Hmm.
Diamond Springs, because it's 2 rounds, it's more casual. Um, because I mean, like the premise of the trip really is like it's a buddies trip with
100%.
a side of like extremely well put together golf tournament.
Yeah.
Um, so like the mines, I like that start. Um, the first tee's far away from the clubhouse. The chipping green
Yeah.
is secluded. It gets the nerves going for that first day. And then Diamond Springs kind of presents as this like kind of like fun, like there's no rough, like we're gonna play so much golf today, like let's just have fun. But that drive into Pilgrims, in the forest, pull up that kind of like Magnolia Lane-esque kind of driveway to that big clubhouse. I mean, getting your bag unloaded for you, and then walking down that like kind of like brick area for the driving range. Like it feels like this is the big time. This is singles. You got to lock it in quick.
I mean, it's literally it was a different, like the first day you get the jitters, we get the national anthem, we're hype, we're we're rolling. The second day you're hungover, you're figuring it out, you're a little tired, and you're just gonna get into it. Pilgrim's Run, it's like, all right, hoodie mellow, Kobe on championship game 7 day, Tom Brady, like you're dialed. You're locked in. You're not the group's not chatting as much. It's much more of like, all right, we're all here, take care of business. And
Yeah,
I loved the feeling of that.
when you all of you guys have seen Miracle, but that scene before the game with the Russians where everybody's just in the locker room silent, like taping up their sticks, taking care of their shit. Like that's sort of the feeling after we check in the golf shop and they're like, "Oh, you guys want to go hit some balls?" It's like a very let's lock in. We're about to fucking go to work right now. So it balances out every other aspect of the trip in just the right amount, because it never gets to the point where like anybody's probably physically like real nervous, like, but it feels like a very serious thing again when we get there. And um I've said it a number of times already, but they just run it so well. The conditions are so dialed, and it's 9 out of the 13 guys voted it as their favorite course on the trip, and it's you know well deserving probably of all 13 guys saying so. Um, so
My favorite quote, I shouldn't say my favorite. One of my favorite quotes of the trip. The Ranger coming up to our last group. You guys are doing a great job. Just keep up with the group in front of you. They're in real trouble. He like said it like they were children.
yeah, like as soon as they get home from school, mom is gonna be pissed.
And that's not me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
Any
my
other
fault. We were on a little bit of an Easter egg hunt for a couple holes, but
another great quote from that course.
that quote came from round 2 at Diamond Springs. Me and S are looking for Max Ball in the bushes, and I was like, dude, this sucks.
Well, the last thing, like match play, you know, your match, everybody's match, the whole trip on the line. What an unbelievable finishing hole.
Yeah.
285 over water. If you like, you need to make something happen. Here it is in front of you. Like, go and fucking get it if you want to do the damn thing. Like, what
Yeah.
a finishing hole for the trip. I know year one we played the back nine first, so we missed out on that. But oh my god, absolute fireworks to close out the entire thing with that 18th hole.
I think about when you say that, I think about my match with Cullen.
Of course.
Right, I ring it off the flag stick on 16 with my putter because we were trying to make up some ground. We don't take the flag out, and I have one going, turns in on the edge, hits the stick and stays out, and I'm down a hole, tie on 17, and now 18 T, I'm down one, right?
Yeah, you
And
got to make a play, right?
we need this half point, and Cullen snap hooks it left behind that big tree.
But and nearly in this, left of those bunkers really is like the safe area if you're trying to just get in with a par, right?
Right. So we couldn't see it from the tee box.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I went with my gut and hit wood off that tee and down into the fairway, and felt
Mhm.
like that was like the big time shot,
Yeah.
right? Like put your put your money where your mouth is and
Yeah. Anything
hit
right of
one.
those bunkers is you have to execute to make this work. And once you do execute that tee shot, then you have a really, really good chance from there,
Right.
right?
So I got down.
Oh, go ahead, Kirk.
I'll just finish it up quick. I got down there, shot the pin, and had 85 yards, which is like
Yeah.
the wedge distance that I look for. And it was the first
Uh-huh.
time I got it all day,
Yeah.
and was like, the feeling when I shot the pin and got that, I was like, like I got this.
Yeah.
And I only hit the ball probably 65 yards. And got it on the green and had 20 feet for birdie.
Uh-huh.
But Cullen finds his ball, and I look over, and he's got a shot at it, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
no. Unfortunately for him, fortunate for me, he missed the green, and then his next chip went on the wrong tier, and my two putts for par were good enough to win the hole and tie the match. But yeah,
Yep.
that just everything about Pilgrims just screams like Wednesday singles at the Kickstart.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say too, like, it from my perspective, it almost felt like a documentary. Like Chase and I are rolling into the last hole. We're overlooking that beautiful 18th fairway over the water, looking at the green.
The sun's coming in like partially blocked by
Yeah.
the trees, overlooking the pond, and like
Right, and he's calling Jay, and it's like, I can't believe I didn't have bringing up Tom Brady twice on my bingo card this pod, but like you're looking at a clip of like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick talking about the game plan before they go make the Super Bowl winning play.
yeah,
And like you get to see Chase and Justin talking out like, hey, am I going for this? Can I check up?
yeah, they're drawing up their 2-minute drive, right?
And you're seeing the guys circle around the green. Like it was, that green is incredible. That course is incredible. It is just a fantastic course.
Absolutely. Carter, let's we've been on for a little while. You want to hit us with our second sponsor and get us rolling into our founders, our Brewed for Us segment. You hear this guy?
Guy gets a new mic and just decides to sit
I
on
know,
mute.
the guy. Oh my God. I think he's Are you muted? Did you mute yourself, Cart?
I'm certain he's muted.
Oh, poor guy.
So wait right there. Kyle's gonna have to do some editing here.
Nah, we'll roll with it. Let him
I'm
have
keeping
it.
it. I'm keeping it.
Carter,
Yeah.
why don't you roll us? Carter, why don't you roll us into our second ad here, the Founders Brewed for Us segment?
Yeah. We've got our favorite special segment coming up, and it's brought to you by none other than Founders Brewery, the creators of some seriously amazing brews. Get ready for Brewed for Us, where we kick back, relax, and chat about whatever's on our minds. And guess what? We don't really care if you want to keep listening or shut it down and hit the road.
We don't. Shut it down if you want.
This segment is all about us, and we're loving it, what we want to talk about. So grab your favorite Founders Brew, sit back and join us for some unapologetic conversation that we want to have. Founders Brewery, where great conversations are always on tap. What do we got today,
Kyle? I'm seeing in our agenda somebody got roasted in IG comments. I have no clue of which of you it is, but let's start there. Who got roasted?
Getting I can send a link to the post maybe in the group chat if anybody actually wants to see like what's going on in this, just text in the group chat and I'll send a link in there, because I have an Instagram comment to an Instagram reel that's out right now that has let me just pull it up real quick. My comment has 407 likes, and there is a couple people in the replies to my comment just absolutely going in on me for commenting. Just for context, it's a I think unserious video of some male merchandisers or head pros picking out ladies golf clothes at the recent PGA show. And it says Meanwhile, at the PGA show, things that make you go and they're clearly making fun of the dudes buying women's clothing for the pro shops.
Sure.
Golf courses have a kind of a record of having really bad women's clothes in the pro shop. Like, understandably, first of all, there's a lot of bad women's golf clothes out there. Like, the examples that are actually in this video are some horrid stuff that these guys are having a meeting, like, trying to decide whether they should buy. They should not buy any of the things that are in this video. It's all
It's
terrible.
always like a full length, bright ass pink dress. With,
There's
like-
one in the video. It's horrible, terrible, huge flower like prints, ultra bright stuff that, like, anybody that wears this is gonna look like a pack of highlighters getting out of their golf cart. And I just had some commentary from my perspective just about being a male a merchandiser for a pro shop that has to make decisions like that and try and get the good, try and get some good stuff that people will actually want to buy in there and not, constantly shit on. And I'm getting some people come at me in there, like, that basically say that I'm unqualified and that I'm an idiot for trying to try to buy women's clothes. It's like it's not my job to try in there. But 407 likes on my comment, and 78 likes on the first response, basically telling me that I'm an idiot for listening to the reps who are just trying to sell me as much shit as possible. And then a bunch of people basically who think that I'm some sort of misogynist and have never talked to a woman about clothes before. So I just wanted to put that in here because I'm down.
Can you send that to me right now, Jay?
I'll send it. I'll send it in the Kickstart chat. There's I'm down here at the PGA headquarters in Texas. You can see that my area is different than past podcasts, but and I'm just sitting here with this stuff on my mind as I'm literally in seminars talking about how I can better merchandise our golf shop in Traverse City, and just having people shit on me like I don't know what I'm talking about. Like,
I mean,
I just
one could
I
make
had
the
to get
argument
it
that's
off
why
my
you're there,
chest,
right?
Yeah, like I'm trying to put in the work, you guys. Like, I'm doing my best, seriously. And so I had to put that in the Brood for Us segment because I can't carry this weight on my own anymore. I just can't.
It's a dark world we live in.
Jump into the next one. We're gonna have you send that before the pod releases as a teaser.
I'll send it in the chat and let everybody know that the Brood for Us segment, it relates to it. Carter, you got into the game. We talked about it. We talked about it last a couple pods ago, or last pod, and I was a week and about 30 minutes early on my prediction. But tell us how it was. You got into the game for Miami, up in Duluth against Minnesota Duluth. Tell us about it. Run us through the breakdown, because there was a good amount of action in that 8 minutes or so, give or take, that you ended up getting in for.
Yeah, so we were up in Duluth, and on Friday night, unfortunately, for us, the game wasn't going too hot.
Before you get on a roll, the team playing okay, not their worst game of the season. Maybe one or two players having a pretty rough go, right? Without naming any, I think we can kind of figure out one of the guys that was having a rough go based on the fact that you got in the game, but could proceed.
I mean, yeah, like we got some injuries around, so we're asking some guys to play some more minutes than they're used to, I think. And so yeah, it just kind of got a little bit out of hand on Friday night. So we give up our sixth goal, and our coach comes down the bench and tells me to get in there.
Did you think that you were hallucinating or that he was joking, or did you have any doubt when he actually came over and said something that I think some of us maybe had considered was an impossibility?
No, not really. I mean, the goal
Mm,
goes in, right? And it's been a while. And the game has gone on for quite some time, so you're kind of like, all right, like these guys are gonna finish it up. And I heard my name from down the bench, but not enough for me to really like kind of do anything about it. And then I heard it
so
again, and I
so
turned and looked, and
after
our coach was right there.
so after like goal number 4, you're not like staring down there waiting for the look and the interaction quite yet?
No, right? I mean, four it was 4-1 after
Yeah.
2, right? So we go to
Mhm.
the locker room, and it's something where you're not right, because you're not gonna I mean, I'm not gonna be the guy to kind of like be eyeing my coach down or anything like that, being like, hey, like get me in there, like
Yeah.
whatever, right? It's kind of
Mhm.
like go to the locker room, and I was in my head kind of like this might be the time
Yeah.
that we make a change in this game. Um I think it's worth noting that my goalie partner was battling some illness at the time too. So
Okay.
um
That's good context.
he I thought was playing fine for the game at the time. I thought the game was a lot closer than 4-1. I think our team did too, just some unfortunate bounces. Um to where I thought, this might be a time where we get this guy some rest here the rest of the night and kind of try to make more of a momentum change. But that wasn't the decision in the coach's room,
Sure.
which is fine. I
Yeah.
mean, right, you have to kind of just accept what's coming from there. That's kind of the way it goes. That's what you do. Um, and then we give up another goal early in the third, and was kind of like, this could be the time, and then it wasn't. So it was kind of
There's
like, oh, okay, like
more doubt now that you didn't start the third period. So you're like, okay, this is still another chance for them to do something. And so not expecting it, but kind of being like, okay, is there gonna be an opportunity here for them to put me in, or
yeah.
something like that after the goal 5?
So after goal 5 early in the third, it was kind of like, all right, like this might be a time where, now maybe, but it didn't
Mhm.
come. So maybe we're gonna kind of um, because our other goalie right now is a freshman, kind of like let him kind of fight through it a little bit, which,
Mhm.
for development and stuff, like you understand, he's kind of earned some opportunity for sure. Um, and then, late we give up the sixth one with about 8 minutes left,
Mhm.
and coach comes down the bench and tells me to get in there, and it was a little bit like, oh, like we're like right now we're going,
Like, now
like
is the
now
time?
now
Yeah.
we're going, okay. And kind of get over the boards. Right, in Duluth, it's weird. There's not a door. There's not a gate right there. So kind of hop over, buckle up the mask and get my stick from the equipment guy and get to about the top of the circles when my goalie partner saw me to switch out.
Mhm.
Um, gave me a fist bump and stuff on the way by. A lot of the guys were excited, but I wasn't as nervous, I guess, as I thought I was gonna be.
Uh-huh.
Um,
It happens, like, not that I've ever played near that level, but, like, when a goalie change happens, a little bit of an awkward interaction coming
Right.
out, and he has to then you can make it as far as, like, 10 feet from him sometimes before they realize what's going on. That can be a
Yeah.
little bit awkward, and then it happens fast because they don't it's not like when a pitcher comes in, they don't have, like, a warm up for a pitcher. The puck gets dropped still at the same speed, like, after the goal goes in as would normally happen if no changes were made. So, like, I don't know if that plays into it then at that level. I mean, you haven't played it had been almost 3 full years, right, since you had played, um,
Yeah.
and so it happens so fast, like, almost the nerves didn't have a chance to set in by the time the play was back going, I imagine.
Right. So I got to the net and turned
Mhm,
around and kind of looked at the crowd. Like Duluth's rink is
mhm.
pretty legit, like big stands and everything, big
It's
scoreboard in the
it's
middle.
360-degree seating.
Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Um and I kind of like look up, take it in, take one deep breath, and all of a sudden like the puck is on the ice. Like
Yeah.
it's go time. Um
Mhm.
when if, a minute or two um and got my first my first shot was a D roll through some traffic and went like under my teammate's arm, through the Duluth guy's legs, off the cuff of my glove, little scramble in front, rebound off my pad, and then kind of clear it to the corner. And
Mhm.
I was like, all right, like, yeah, like this, I can do this. I used to do this when I was just a wee child, right? When I was 20,
Uh-huh.
I was snapping it all the time, right? So, um, yeah, it was good to make that first save and kind of keep it out and was like, all right. And then what ended up happening is
Well, and so
Duluth took a
next
penalty.
yeah, so and then just before that, just after that penalty, I should say, so the penalty happens and they go to a TV
TV
timeout.
timeout.
And so the announcers and I think the scorekeeper as well did not, because like we talked about, that change happened so fast, did
Right.
not know that you guys had even made a change. And so a change happens, like you said, about a minute of play, one or two saves, and then a penalty happens. And at that TV timeout is then when you were credited with coming into the game, and the announcers, it had clicked that, oh, after the goal they didn't make a change, but during the TV timeout, I happened to notice that this guy in the net looks a little different than the last one.
Right. So we go on the power play now.
Yeah.
Um which for a goalie that's good because I mean there's less likely that the play's going to come down at you. So
Catch your breath.
I kind of have a little bit of time, right? The face off is going to be
Mhm.
down there. I went to the bench for the TV timeout.
Yeah, let
Um
it sink. Let everything
kind of
kind of
like
sink in and catch your
settle it
breath.
down a little bit. Um right, and then get back in the net. And while we're on the power play, we had a we ended up scoring
Yep.
to make it 6-2, but on the same scoring play. So Duluth took another penalty.
Yes.
I take off for the bench. We score before I can get there.
Yep.
Right. So now I go back and we're on the power play again because in our conference, if you score on a delayed penalty, you get to have the power play also.
Correct.
And then on that power play, we had a little bit of a miscommunication at our blue line.
It happened fast. The play went back down to their end and then almost immediately starts coming back out. A missed, like you said, miscommunication. The puck is loose and in the neutral zone, and Duluth player gets there first and picks it up.
Yeah, so the Duluth, one of Duluth's best players, their captain, low height, gets a little bit of a break. And on the back check, my teammate Spencer Cox kind of reaches around and knocks the puck off his stick.
Mm,
But when he did that, both of them kind of stumbled. So Spencer's reaction was to grab him so that
yeah,
they both didn't go barreling into me.
their feet from the angle that you're watching on NCHC TV. When he reaches around to knock the puck off of his stick, his back leg catches low height skates and they start to fall forward. And like you're describing, he just kind of grabs onto him. So then at full speed, what it looks like is like a chase down tackle in the in the
Yeah.
NFL. Like their feet
So
hit, but
they
he
go,
looks like he reaches out and grabs him by the waist and takes him down.
so low height kind of goes down to like hands
Mhm.
and knees right as he's getting to the crease. So I jump.
Yeah.
And when I jump, his legs or his body hit my legs. My legs go absolutely off the crossbar. But at the same time, Spencer runs into me. So I grab Spencer's like shoulders and just land on my feet again.
Yeah.
And low height went right in the net like he was a soccer ball and and knock it off. So I skate away, right? Those guys with the black and white jerseys get to put the net back where it goes.
Yeah.
And I get back to the net and I say to the linesman, I'm like, so what do we got here? The face off is outside the zone because their guy knocked the net off, right? And he goes, no, they got a penalty shot.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
So you've been in the game for now about 2 minutes and 10 seconds. I went back and rewatched this. You're in the goal for about 2 minutes and 10 seconds, and you have a goal. Your team scores a goal. So the other team takes a penalty. Your team scores a goal. The other team takes another penalty, and your team just took a penalty that's awarded a penalty shot, all in about 2 minutes and 10 seconds of you being into your first game action for almost 3 years.
Right. So the other thing is Duluth got the option
Yeah,
to take the
conference
2-minute
rule.
power play and make
Mhm.
it 4-on-4 for about a minute 20.
Yeah,
But they picked for penalty shot.
which for them, I understand the decision making. A goalie that has just come into the game has only faced one, maybe two shots, and is now, with no warm up whatsoever, has to face our best player on a penalty shot. What better opportunity are they going to get to put one in the net and make it 7-1 or 7-2?
Right. So low height, who is a Minnetonka, Minnesota native. Um, I believe I played against him, maybe with them once or twice in Beauty League, or
I
at
think
least seen him
probably.
around the rink.
Hmm.
Um, not that I had any pre-scoutage on him by any means, but
Yeah.
just a little bit of a familiar face. And yeah, he came down on his penalty shot, and I felt absolutely was kind of like appalled that I felt no nerves. Kind of felt like, all right, like penalty shot, like I can like do this, like no problem. Like this guy's not gonna score on me. He
Hmm.
came down, he made it a move that that didn't work at all.
Yeah,
And just
maybe he didn't reach too deep in his bag for that one, but yeah, it was played perfectly by the fifth year player from Penn, Michigan. I'll just
right,
say we've got a video of that's already gone into the Kickstart chat.
right. So I make the save on that, right? And then the next whistle after that's another TV timeout.
Yeah.
So go to the bench again, and all the fellas are obviously fired up, right? They're excited for me to be in there. And our head coach comes down the bench and looks at me and he's like, all right, like, way to go, Carts. Like, kind of like all excited, kind of like
Mhm.
fired up. And I just kind of like didn't really say anything, just kind of shook my head and then looked at our D coach, goalie coach, Zach Sizek, who, I've been meeting with and working on my game with over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And he's standing there on the bench, and he just kind of like looked at me with kind of a straight face, and I looked at him, and I just like kind of shook my head, and he just kind of shook his head, and I was like, all right, like, this
Yeah.
guy knows that, I'm just gonna go in here and do my thing, and then we'll
Mhm.
get out of here. So
Yeah.
made a couple more saves on the way home.
Credited with 4 saves officially on the stat sheet. My
Right.
my recounting is 6 just based on them not pretty much not knowing when you went into the game actually. Um,
Right.
but
So
super cool. We're all obviously thrilled that you got in and we hope that we hope Logan heals up quick, but we also hope that maybe this turns out to be an even bigger opportunity for you because showed really well in the time that you were finally given out there.
yeah, right. I mean, it's tough, the position that I've kind of been put in here, right? I mean, it's kind of gonna take a sprained ankle, or
Yeah,
a sick game, or maybe a bad start or something. But it kind of like felt really good after the fact to know that, after, it had been since, November of my junior year that I had been in a college hockey game. So
mhm,
to
yeah.
kind of get,
November of 2021.
yeah, to kind of get it out of the way, so that now, this week of practice and stuff, like, Logan is likely still going to be out. Just kind of add a little bit more into, I guess, into my cup here as we go into the weekend, and just kind of, see what happens, and take, you know if the opportunity comes, or another opportunity comes this weekend, like, I'm not going to have to worry about, doing it for the first time. So
Yep,
it was definitely exciting, and and a little bit of a weight off my shoulders, right? You think about it, for 2.5 years. Sometimes the moment in your head gets to be a little bit bigger than it actually is.
for sure. All right. Yeah, a couple just quick things, and we'll have Kyle talk us out of this one. But coming up in the next few episodes here, we're going to get back to some player profiles. But sounds like we could potentially have a special guest coming up that is interested in providing us maybe our first ever mock draft. Um, we'll get to that on future episodes. I don't want to overpromise too much, but we're going to get back to some player profiles and hopefully have a mock draft for you guys. And we'll see. Hopefully we can keep doing these. I'm loving doing these with you guys, and our Brood for Us segment officially over, a little longer than usual, but
I
I
mean,
don't
this
care.
this
We told
episode,
everyone to turn it off.
Yeah, we told you to turn it off if you didn't want to listen to us keep going. So that was your choice.
I guess, well, we should just start throwing in little Easter eggs this late. I mean, I'll just announce that I'm picking Trick first overall right now. And if
Try to
anyone
see who you can catch slipping.
listen this far in, next week I'll tell you who I'm going to try to pick second.
I'll go ahead and say I made a burner on Insta and just started flaming Jay. That was weeks ago.
I made a burner on Insta and been flaming Jay since 04.
Yeah, some of these people don't have a lot of posts either. Come on.
They never do.
No
One
one's
guy
gonna
called
know.
me Rick. One guy told me that asked me if I get my clothing style from my brother Richard Simmons. Like I couldn't even figure out if that was directed at me. I can't find
Well,
any.
do you?
I no, but I don't even know where did that come from? Do I have some posts on my profile where me and Richard Simmons are standing there wearing weird clothes or something? Like, what's this guy talking about? I don't want to go back into it, Kyle.
That can of worms is closed. Let's keep the
Yeah.
can of worms about Carter wide open. Carter, congrats again. It is a fantastic feat and a weight off your shoulders that we've all been waiting for, and I'm happy to see you back out there and excited about it. And then obviously just the recap on the courses today. The Mines, the Diamond Springs, the Pilgrim's Run, all three unbelievably unique, interesting, fun courses that brought us great memories and are sure to bring us more great memories in the future. I know we've had a little bit of discussions when it comes to the Mines potentially leaving us in our first round, but I think that's just a future discussion. For now, we just
Ain't gonna happen.
I'll put some research together and maybe a few we can profile those on a future episode or something like that. We'll
Yeah.
Everything's still up in the air for us.
I
But
think
for
it
sure.
would be good to talk about some options on here and then let the group voice their opinions and then do what we usually do and just decide what the board wants and tell everyone else to suck.
Yeah.
I think we do this on a different podcast. I'm tired. We've been on here for 2 hours.
No, we're for sure, but we're just letting you know that, like,
Oh,
hey,
Next-
we'll
next
maybe talk
pod,
about
next
this.
pod.
We'll talk about them on a later episode, and then
okay.
everybody else can give us some feedback, and we might listen to it. We might fucking not.
Yeah.
We might
All
do
right.
whatever we want still.
We'll
Good
do.
deal.
So,
But
Do you think Adam Silver and all those guys that run in that league think that they just do whatever they want?
I'm shocked you know who Adam Silver is.
I don't.
I think he thinks that that's the baseball commissioner.
Oh.
That's
No,
enough.
that's the
enough for us.
commissioner of the.
Thanks
of
for
the
having
NBA.
us, Kyle. Thanks for having
NBA?
us.
Love you
I got
guys.
a ball with his ignorant
We'll be
autograph.
we'll be back soon, and yeah.
Let's go
Love
Red
you guys.
Wings.
Go Pistons. Love you guys.
Love you too,
Me
Kyle.
too, Kyle.